It's Thursday, May 23rd, 2024, and this is PHX App Dev Podcast. I'm talking with Justin Fischgrund. Justin, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I was so excited to have you pop back up in the network. I love the origin story. So our origin is I was working at Pivotal and you were working at Dick's Sporting Goods, and you're a product manager, if I recall correctly.
Correct.
Yes. And then you said some magic words to me, probably lean. And then we just started talking lean. And I was like, and then I kept putting more chips on the table. And you're like, yes, those too.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
That was it. That was it. Yeah. Some of the techniques we were using at Pivotal, what we did is when we found anyone who cared, anyone who knew the words, we just like, let's hang out. Because I was there. There were 30 product managers and 2 who actually wanted to talk in any of these terms. And so we know that those ratios exist. We know at a big company, that's what it's like. And so we glom on. And so for that, for those of you who follow the Pivotal model, this is what it looks like as you go make fronts. So, and that was what, 2018 or 19?
2018, that's when I started. Yeah, I started my journey in the tech product space in 2018. That was introduced right into the Pivotal model. And it was a great starting point for me as I got introduced into the store tech space at Dick's Sporting Goods and kind of embraced those principles that I continue to evolve and tailor throughout my journey today.
Yeah, but you came with an insane skill set at the beginning, right? What was your background before you switched into store tech, as you say?
Yeah, so a bit of a unique journey into product management, but I guess that's what everyone says, right? How they get into the product space. I have a background in industrial system engineering, so all about driving efficiency, lean, and the way I was taught about it in school was more from a manufacturing, right? How do we optimize and reduce defects and streamline workflow from a manufacturing plant perspective? But I decided as I was going through that journey, love efficiency, love lean concepts, but I wanted to take those and apply them in unique, diverse sectors. So I started my career at American Express, supporting their back office processes like disputes and, card member updates like name changes and how do we streamline that process, and then did some work consulting for the US Navy, and then for Amtrak, similar functions, back office or mechanical processes and how do we drive efficiency, and decided that I loved the thought of streamlining operations, doing automation, value engineering in terms of taking a process and try to make it as efficient as possible to drive customer satisfaction and bottom line results. And meet the customer's needs, but I wanted to have some sort of ownership over the tech roadmap so I could take technology, integrate it with process improvement, and come together in kind of the synergy of the two. And that's where I've really found kind of my passion in the last 6-7 years is just doing exactly that.
Yeah, I mean that's similar to what drives me is the efficiency. Is when you understand at the deepest level what these machines can deliver in terms of efficiency, it becomes consuming. You like, and then you learn everything about the machines from the salt mine up, and then you get to the people and you're like, oh, well, I'm doing all of this for these people. Like all the efficiency is for the people here. And then you learn about the people problem.
Yeah.
And that's actually where our story really, I think, joins, is because I'm like, okay, well, there's only a couple of people at Dick's who want to talk about product management. And so I think I'm just like, I'll hang out with you. We scheduled calls.
Yeah.
And like we're going to talk lean stuff and Pivotal model and junk like that. But you had particular concerns. There were things that actually happened on the ground that product managers have to deal with, and you were dealing with it.
Yeah, I think the interesting part, and you mentioned efficiency, and that's kind of the core. Yeah. So I'm thinking about it in terms of how do we drive efficiency in processes? How do we drive efficiency in how we work together? Efficiency in how we leverage capital investments. Everything's about efficiency, right? And part of that, to your point, is being able to partner with others within organizations and making sure that you're coming in with that. I always like to say when I come in, so I came into Dick's Sporting Goods, I don't know anything about, sports, in terms of from a footwear selling perspective or selling merchandise from I've never worked in that kind of retail environment, just like when I was supporting the Navy, naval ships, you're supporting credit cards, American Express. I've always found you don't need to be an expert in those spaces. It's about the skills and the processes that we take, and then having a learner's mindset, coming in and be a sponge. That's what I do with every mindset, right? I don't come in to the Dick's Sporting Goods model and say, hey, we're going to do it this way, A, B, and C, because this is how I've always done it, and this is what it works in this company. That's not how I operate. I came in, and to your point, working through various, types of personalities and teams, and the organization going through transformational, and working with people like yourself. How do I come in and build strong relationships? Because I understand that there's people that I'm partnering with who roles are changing, and we're trying to drive their business objectives through technology. And how to do that is to listen to them, make them feel heard, understand them, roll up my sleeves, go work the footwear deck for 20, 30 days, right? Talk to the associates in the stores, observe the process, and really empathize and put myself in their shoes. And that's how I was able to overcome some of the challenges some product managers face at times, is just because I did it a certain way in another organization, various different types of user personas, internal stakeholders, internal customers. And if you take some time to understand their goals, their objectives, and what they're about, you're going to find that people really want to partner together, but they want to feel like they're heard, and that they have a voice in the process.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what I remember you saying is like, hey, the old school product management folks, they do not know what I'm doing. I literally think my answer back to you was just use standard product management techniques to see what they are concerned about. It's the same thing. And so right back was like, just use the same tools. And you set it up. You went back to a meeting where you had it all done like you were exploring them as a persona for a product.
Yeah. You have a better memory than I do. Wow. I'm like trying to remember this.
It's this crazy playbook, because it was so funny, because you are a machine. There are problems with being really process driven. And one of them is that you will never count your victory.
I remember you saying I needed to have a journal of wins, and I remember that because I found that as we reconnected. Because I'm very structured, and
So I do remember recommending that you count your victories, right?
Yeah.
Because you were just ready to run by all of them. And maybe it's because you were new in the industry. You didn't realize like how you were just like slicing through. And so that was awesome. I remember that very vividly. And I remember one more situation, because Pivotal was a big, balanced team company.
Yep.
And you called and you're like, I can't get this balanced team member. Like, it was the square block was not fitting in the round hole. And that was also, do you remember the kind of coaching there?
It's funny, I don't, but I remember having the conversation as well in terms of, when you're talking about the balanced team, it's the product manager, the product designer, engineers coming together, and sometimes there's healthy friction in terms of the direction, and we had some differing opinions about how we wanted to proceed. I'm trying to remember specifically. It must have worked, because I remember we were very successful after that, but I don't remember.
There's a whole story. I'm like, think of this designer as wanting to do the best work of their life. Just go find out what the best work of their life looks like, and how you can make it, how you can help.
Sure.
And that's it. You got a balanced team. And I think literally the call was that. It was like, hey, I went and talked to them and did that, and they're like this and that, and let's do it together. And it was like just that fast.
Yeah.
And so these two stories in particular, in my career, I've always found extremely interesting, because they were, first of all, extremely clear problems.
Yeah. And
this is right at your new job, and you weren't sure what to do in that problem thing. And I pointed to techniques out of a book. This is what I want to say to people. And as a process dork, like, what I want everyone to learn is that you can just learn these techniques straight out of a book. And if you will conscientiously apply them like a system person, that's really what the skill is. Are you a systems person who can load a system in and like actually grind it against the universe? And so those two particular things, you were already primed with all lean everything. I didn't have to define any word there. I just said, turn this machine around on these people.
Sure.
And you're like, that makes sense. You just did it. Right. It was very low drama. Yeah.
But sometimes it's about, try to get to results quickly, but it's about the process. That's part of the process, right? You have to, when you mentioned about the journal of wins, I'm thinking about the result being releasing our MVP and seeing business results. And that's the goal. And to your point, there was a lot of smaller wins throughout that journey. It's part of the process that we needed to celebrate. And we started doing that, and it makes it a lot less daunting to go through that. So that's what I took from that, is that sometimes I'm always so result focused. The big result that you want. There's many small steps that take. And even now, as I'm in my business going through that, the big result is getting tons of clients and making a huge career at this. But, you have to have the small steps to get there. So that's what I've taken from this as well.
Yeah, yeah. In particular, it's always a joy to find someone who loves your work like you do. It is, as you said, it's in your DNA. It's like, every and it's great. Like, that's in Silicon Valley. That's what you love to find. You love to find yourself next to a person like that who loves their work. And if you love your work and you all get to love your work together and you're on the same North Star, then it's just fantastic. And so, yeah. So the result out of these two things were really great. So with the people who were formerly detractors, and I think you actually identified them. Oh, these guys are detractors. They don't want me doing anything here. We haven't even revealed the punchline of what all of this is, right? This is just, what did you have to do to do this super cool retail tech thing? And I remember when I talked to you and you're like, the old line PMs, after I went through and did all of that and then came back and rolled them into the process, what did they say to you afterwards?
I mean,
That's your week journal.
You're asking the tough questions. That was 8 years ago. Wow, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I just remember having lots of conversations and partnering up with other various PMs who had been there for years and different ways of thinking, and really getting to understand their model, sharing my wins from them, and kind of coming together in various different products. Because I was in my own myopic mindset of shoe tech, but we had other product managers who were back-end systems, and it's not apples to apples, but having these lessons learned to be able to come together and share how we could apply concepts positively in ways that didn't work. We found a lot of value in that. That's what I recall from those early days.
Yeah. I recall specifically people who were not friendly to you at the beginning, telling you what a great experience it was, and appreciating how you had done it. Right. We haven't even said what you were doing here. You built the shoe wall model and implementation at Dick's Sporting Goods.
Yeah.
So we go with your phone and do that. That's you. You designed that process. You even alluded to 30 days on the floor for that.
Yeah, we spent deep research to solve the problem, and it was a self-service kiosk where you can come in and scan shoes to then request it. So first off, not having to interface with an associate to see if something was in stock, and then there's waste in that process when it's not. And then someone comes out and brings it to you. So myself and the Balance team, we worked through the various complexities of the research and forming together the team, and came out with a patented technology, actually, that, and it was part of the process of going through and trusting the process, so to speak, of, it wasn't always a straight line to get to the results, but it was a great journey, and I learned a lot from it. And it's a great example of the power of a lot of things we're talking about here.
Yeah. And so if we popped all the way out and we look at that, how long were you the PM of that?
So I think it must have been like a year and a half, because then, obviously COVID hit in the spring of 2020, and I ended up shifting over shortly after to the omnichannel space. But it was October 2018 when I started, and I think we had our minimum viable product to the stores within 60 days of identifying it. And then we had iterations and continued, value added based on customer research, and continued to drive. And then, when stores started opening after COVID, we started scaling the product out more, and then kind of moved on to another product. But it was quite the journey of, I think, a year and a half, 2 years of going through the raw idea in a complex space of how we're going to solve this, all the way through the product, maturation process.
Yeah, it's awesome. That is such a great story, and being with a product for a year and a half and really seeing it all the way through. These stories are invaluable. What was the other product you switched to? Omnichannel?
Yeah, I was supporting later on during COVID, the team stood up Curbside Pickup and really optimized the way, because that was the main driver. I ended up coming in there, I think later that year or the next year, and helping continue to drive efficiency within the curbside, as well as the picking process for online orders. So another marriage of my, lean thinking as far as how do we drive efficiency with picking and that experience from an omni-channel perspective. So similar concepts, completely different product. We're not talking about a self-service kiosk now. We're talking about someone placing an order online and helping the internal customer, who's the associate, pick items efficiently.
Efficiency. Here we are again. I found Dick's just really flexible. Like, how did you get into 2 stores? How was it even possible? Most organizations, if like, hey, we want to go pilot in stores, they would be like, get out of here.
Yeah. It was incredible to have that. We're thinking about a product team that's going in, doing research. Like I said, we rolled up our sleeves and we went in the stores, and then we have, we go through the entire framing process, and then we have this idea. And it's, to your point, in some organizations there'd be well, pilot something and we're going to do some testing, and it's scrappy, it's not clean. And we had a ton of support from various leaders all the way through the executives of, we're going to embrace this model and see it through, because if we can learn quickly, maybe fail fast if you need to, right? It's going to save us time and money. So we were able to go and do lean experiments. And then once we confirmed those, we were able to determine what the solution was going to look like. And we started building it on hardware. And then we were able to pilot it in 1, 2, 3 stores, and then just continue to spend on that. And it was the definition of scrappy in terms of continue to iterate. And what we put out there, it worked, right? It wasn't the most beautiful product, but it wasn't an embarrassing one, but it worked. But we knew it was going to be a journey, and just having that support to be able to test and learn is extremely invaluable, because that's something that I continue to push now throughout my career, is continue to be that advocate for test and learn. Because I remembered how powerful it was, and how great the feeling was when you're getting support from leaders who are sharing with their leaders about why we need to embrace this model.
They did it. I saw them adopt a whole new way of technology. It was an amazing journey. Shout out to Dick's Sporting Goods and everyone there. Mm-hmm. That's a textbook lean cycle. You have a problem, or you have something you want to do, and you just grind against it with these tools like that. It's been a long time since then, as you point out. Where have you been? What have you? I like that long question. What have you learned since the last time?
Yeah. So yeah, it has been. So that was, I was Dick's Sporting Goods till 2022. I then transitioned more into the omni-channel space, and then both product management and UX design at BJ's Wholesale Club. So I had the opportunity to take an expanded role thinking about omni fulfillment, from inventory payments through picking and packing. So some of the similar functions that I had supported, latter part at Dick's Sporting Goods, and then also support the UX design team. Not being a UX designer by trade, and not having the deep skills of being able to build screens, right, and practice UX designer, it really pushed me to think, even beyond some of the challenges I had in the past, because now I'm supporting and growing team members who, I am not someone who could do their job on a day-to-day basis. It doesn't mean I can't be valuable to them and be a mentor or coach, but it's different situational leadership. And it was an extremely amazing experience to be able to be supporting a variety of different products, different team members like product managers and designers, because I hadn't done that before, and higher level strategy and complex problems, and helping build out the overall product thinking. So that was a great experience to be able to do that. And then had a lot of learnings in terms of pushing lean experiments, lean software development, and all those concepts in another organization. And it was incredible to go through that journey again, in a different organization, different space, different scale. And then most recently decided, hey, I'm going to take some of those experiences, being from the corporate side, from the lean side, and I'm going to open my own consulting firm. I'm going to give it a shot. It's something that I thought about for a really long time, as far as I want to be able to help organizations from diverse backgrounds, like I said, rail, retail, Navy, been in a variety of different organizations. And although the products aren't the same, right? People say, well, how can you support this? You don't have any deep expertise in that. Well, from my perspective, it's similar concepts, and coming in with a unique perspective. I'm not going to come in and say I'm the expert in that one space, but I want to be able to help organizations from a strategic vision perspective solve complex problems to drive business value and user value. And started that journey a couple months ago.
That's totally awesome. I cannot get away from your willingness to go on the ground. However long my career has been, when you go on site with a client who's trying to use your product, and you see like, well, the first of all, they're like trying to shove it in their ear, and it's not designed for that, right? First, they're just doing the wrong thing with it. When you see all of these things, it's just astounding. So what I really want to know is, how did you learn to get on the ground?
Yeah.
Like, where did that come from?
Yeah. So it's funny you said it. There's a concept in Lean called Genshi Genbutsu. Genshi. It just means go and see, right? Actually wrote an article about it recently on LinkedIn. But that's what I've been doing since my early career. First thing I always do is go and see, right? So the first day at American Express, first week, we are going and listening to calls to the call center. I'm going and sitting with people working the disputes, right? Because from my perspective, how can I help drive efficiency and technology innovation in a space if I don't understand how things are operating? Because every time I'm working with an organization, whether it's corporate or consulting, I've already established that I'm not an expert, deep expert in the workings, right? And you don't need to be effective, but you need to roll up your sleeves and go observe, listen, talk to, even do the process if you can, like I was able to do at Exporting Goods. Same thing when I shifted over to the Omni space at Exporting Goods. Went into the stores, worked the orders, right? Picked orders. When I started BJ's Wholesale, exact same thing, going in and going to the operation. That's critical. So it's funny that you asked the question of how did I start doing it? That's just, for me, that's always step one. I need to immerse myself in the process to be able to have a better conversation.
Yeah, your family either taught it to you or you learned it along the line in engineering, but it's not. I really want to lose my mind here, because this one little thing. How many people do you know in product management who do what you do?
It's not enough as it should be, right? Even when people are supporting pure e-com, right? Their users may not be in the place of work, so to speak. It doesn't mean that you can't go to the physical location or even a Starbucks, right? There's plenty of e-commerce users there, and just start talking to them. Hey, can I ask you a few questions about apps, right? There's always users that you could. I always try to put my own personal thoughts aside, because for me, I want to hear from the actual users who are doing the work, and whether that's the internal customers who are working at the stores, if it's the external customers there, if it's someone I can find in another place who is a user of the product, talking to them, observing them, hearing their insights is always going to be the best way to gather information. And if I'm going to try to, make it up based on my own personal opinions, we're probably going to be wrong.
Yeah, in fact, that's the joy of a product manager, is that you get to go see. You get to treat you get to treat everything as if it's got a ruler next to it. It's like, oh, that's 1 inch of desire. Like, you get to just look at it without having to be it. I don't know. I am constantly astounded that companies don't require their engineers and product managers to simply go on site with clients. If I were the ruler of the universe, I'd be like, everyone has to go work this exact thing that you did.
Yeah.
And okay, great. Yeah. So
many ideas come just from going, right? Talking to people, observing. And it also just makes, even from an engineering perspective, right? When I include software engineers in discovery all the time where possible, and it's been obviously they don't always have the capacity that a product manager, of course, right? But some of the most amazing experience I've had is when we've had the software engineers come do the research with us to understand the problems, and then later on in the journey come and see the users using the technology they built, and it's like the most rewarding experience. They're like, wow, it's incredible.
And that's the loop of the balanced team. The balanced team is who creates that for a client typically, right? And that's the whole point. Yeah, it's astounding to me that people don't. Like I so just we've only got a few more minutes, and so but I want to go into like technical interview mode, because I just want to articulate that look, if you say care about the craft of product management or any kind of engineering, and you don't routinely interact with the clients, go ask your employer to simply let you. Hey, I want to go visit client A for a whole week. I'll type for them if that's what they want. Like, is that totally rational? Is that a reasonable thing to do?
Oh yeah, I think it's from it's a non-negotiable, right? In terms of first days, working with a new client, first thing I do is went on site, right? It's like, hey, I need to dive in, talk to the people, gather the information, synthesize my thoughts, then come back, do it again, and just continually iterate.
Okay. So if you're a product manager and you want to grow, you must add this to your toolkit. And so are there books, are there articles? What would you point to as like, hey, how do you develop this mindset?
So someone I'm a big fan of is Teresa Torres, Product Talk. I don't know if you've heard of her. Nope. She has, it's a big blog. So it's all about product thinking. I'm constantly getting her newsletter. She's talking about continuous discovery, research, talking to users, confirmation bias. I was introduced to that back in 2018 when I first started in the formal tech product space, and that's been a blog, and she has a couple books that I've just continually been reading up upon, case studies, and that's where I pull a lot of the concepts and then I tailor them based off of what I think works best for the organization needs. But that's definitely one that I found to be really valuable, and she pushes a ton of the fact that go and see the work, right? Bring engineers through discovery. Organizations typically, sometimes will push back and say, well, engineers should be writing behind the screen, right? And it's, yeah, they should be coding, but if you bring them along the discovery, they're going to be more invested and you're going to get a higher return on investment from that perspective. And she's just a huge proponent of that. So that's definitely one of the first names that comes to mind that I've been following for probably 6-7 years.
Okay, great. Teresa Torres, all partisan up with anyone who's doing it, right? So if you're a product manager, go live with your clients. There's nothing that can replace this experience. If you're a product manager, add in living with clients.
Yeah, I think one thing as well, and this is the common debate within the whole balance team, but specifically product, want to work for an organization where they have ownership over the roadmap, right? I want to make sure that I'm driving the roadmap, that it's not I'm just a feature factory where I'm pulling in feature requests from stakeholders, right? That's the dream of what every product manager. But then when they go to an organization to try to do that and they don't immerse themselves in the process, how can you speak on behalf of the customer and take ownership of the roadmap if you don't understand the inner workings? And then you're complaining about, just relying on stakeholder requests, and stakeholders a lot of times are the experts in that space. Yep. You need to be able to go dive in and do the same thing as well. So it's funny that that's a constant debate. Everyone wants ownership of the roadmap, but then sometimes they don't want to go in and do the work to be able to speak knowledgeably about the topic.
I learned a term last year, agile charlatanism. You really don't want to be an agile charlatan. And if you're not going on the ground, you run the risk. You really do run the risk. It's very easy to get disconnected even with the best intentions. So you've got your business now. One of my big questions is always like, how are we delivering value? Yeah. And so you've got a consultancy. One of the things I'm very interested in is how are you defining value? Because all over the planet, there are two real problems. What is the actual value, and how do we align to capture the value? And so you've got a consultancy.
Yeah. So I started my business officially 2 months ago, yesterday. So what I decided, it was something that I always thought I wanted to do, right? This vision, and scared, it's kind of equated to like standing by the side of the ocean and it's cold and you're going in, you're coming out, you're going in. It's like, I'm going to go do it. And my thought in terms of defining value is there's a lot of people out there who consultants, general management consultants, right? They do a little of everything. And from my perspective, I wanted to go really niche on my specialty. So I didn't want to be, your general strategic consultant, project manager. I wanted to be very specific in terms of helping organizations on two fronts, which is really the combination of my work. It's value engineering, which is all about the Lean Six Sigma efficiency, and technology product strategy, combining those together and helping organizations, no matter the industry. So I go wide in terms of that, but use technology and process improvement tools to drive innovation and business results. And how I deliver value is same concepts that I've been pushing throughout my career, is talking to the potential clients. What are your objectives? Where are the problem areas? What are the opportunities? Where do you see the business going? Where are some of the biggest challenges that you need assistance with? And listening to them and hearing them and digesting that information. And then talking a bit about my experience and how in diverse backgrounds, some of my approach and how I come in with that learner's mindset and can help them based off of the KPIs, right? What do they care about? Not every organization has the same KPIs, but what are the things that are most impactful to them, and how can hopefully my experience align to that, and bring them along the journey. That's how I deliver value as well, right? I'm bringing them along the journey throughout that. It's not, I equate it to like when you're, back in school and you do a math problem and you always said, show your work before you have the answer, right? It's when I'm working on a client project, it's not like, hey, we're going to start. Okay, I'll give you the report in 2 months. It's continual along the journey. We're going to be partnering together and making sure that I'm meeting the needs of their business and what their objectives are.
Yeah. Would you go so far as to say you're a with, not for organization?
Partner with. It's a partnership. That's yeah.
Okay. So when you see, you said organizations have different KPIs.
Yeah.
When you come in, what set of KPIs do organizations mostly say they want to move?
I mean, typically from, they want to drive top line growth. They want to drive operational efficiency. They want to, do more with less from a cost perspective. So that's where I typically am specializing in, is how do we think about our costs and how do we drive incremental value from that. That's typically where I'm specialized in, but it's also customer satisfaction as well, right? And intertwining that in too. So those are the KPIs that I'm typically confident in our skill sets to be able to provide value around that.
Well, we can't wait to see what's going on. It's Thursday, May 23rd, 2024, and this is the PHX App Dev Podcast, and we've been talking with Justin Fischgrund.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, great to have you.